and its own button on the pilot control column.
Thank you also for staying out of the water whilst you see the aircraft pick up, because that's part of the safety rules, out of the water. We say hello to Tony DeBrun in his Bronco. Yes, this is the one with the right on the front. With the twin propeller and twin tails.
Yes, I believe it was the North American Rockwell Ocean Bronco, and it was designed table and landing. Just the right conditions and used.
Their brands are still on fire and their
Nicknamed the Bucky Bronco because of its amazing manoeuvrability. But if you look now, the centre of the display line, the gear is down and the dirt part of the gear down. Now this aircraft during the display will go from to demonstrate the aircraft's short takeoff and landing, its stall capability, the Bronco does maneuverability of the aircraft.
on the beach with the loudspeakers asking you to stay out of the water. So if you're perhaps listening to this on the prom, please beckon your youngsters off out of the water and back onto the beach. Please don't stray onto the water. That's a safety issue for us. Please help the beach controllers follow their instructions to stay out of the water whilst the aircraft are flying.
The Air Force, the Navy and the Marines, and in Indonesia. As we said earlier, the Vietnam War used them, as well as in the Philippines. To land on roads. It can also operate on an aircraft. Of Portrat in Belgium, just on the
chats to you earlier before the flying began. Now, yesterday we know that here the crosswind meant that the back of so that didn't happen yesterday, and that was a complete shame because we had a team of people. We are so honoured and privileged to have over those boats.
The Spitfire, the most famous military aircraft on the time, and arguably one of the most useful ever built. The Spitfire is perhaps chiefly remembered as the symbol of the Battle of Britain. Meanwhile, the Hawk Hurricane is the unsung hero of the Battle of Britain. This aircraft, born from a famous water design stable, was the creation of the Great Sydney Cam, and was his response to the RAF's urgent requirement for a low-wing monoplane fighter to balance the threat from Nazi Germany and its rearmament during the mid-1930s.
The pilot for his aircraft. More Spitfires were built than any other British combat aircraft before or since World War II. A total of 20,000.
Later in his career, he was the chief of display pilot, then with the BBMF for 6 years. More advanced, powerful engines, which helped in the success to ultimate victory. Now this Spitfire, sorry, this Bronco, there's 865, 80 years old last month in July. It's the last model of Porcupine built from a total of over 40,000 flights.
is on cue. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let's welcome the Lynx 8H7 helicopter.
Afternoon is Lynx pilot Fairey Swordfish. He's spent 17 years in Army aviation as a pilot, helicopter instructor, and almost 30 years in Her Majesty's Forces. He has over 6,000 flying hours, mostly on twin-turbine helicopters. He has experience of military flying, including counter-terrorism, airborne reconnaissance, casualty evacuation, pilot instruction, assessment, examination, and he's also flown VIPs in hostile environments such as the jungle and the desert. He now works for the National Police Air Service as a national training captain and spends his hobby in the summer flying at air shows as part of Project Lynx with the Westland Lynx helicopter.
Climbing into the sky, we're going to see several wingovers, and to get your cameras ready because we're going to see a hover like no other. We're going to see a wonderful hover at 300 feet above the sea with a very slow 360-degree turn very soon. So cameras at the wet ready, because this is something rather special. Here we go.
Over 10,000 pounds fully loaded. The engines are two Rolls-Royce Gem 41-to-1 turbo shafts with 1120 horsepower each.
He's now flying backwards. Before to return Lynx helicopters to the sky so they can be curry and ice cream is the thing that you have before your aerobatics if you listen to the Firebirds.
I'm not sure I'm quite brave enough to try that.
So that's Clyde later. Must say well done to Graham, who is the man behind Project Lynx. He's actually purchased another Lynx since he did up this one as well. It's her birthday today. She comes to watch the air show every year with her
horsepower engine. These aircraft have an excellent power-to-weight ratio, which combined with an efficient airframe gives this aircraft the performance and flight-like handling to make it perfect. According to Raven pilot Steve Wells, he's been in the Air Force all his professional life, flying fighters such as Tornadoes and training pilots on Hawks and shooters. Rumour has it that he's been flying fighters prior to having a driving licence as he joined so young. In his spare time, he used to train civilians at the formation school at North Wales, where Team Raven originated. All of the civilians their way over to Earlscombe.
One more chance as they line up how they come together in a cluster, almost like a swarm of bees, six together now, so tight, barely on the distance, any distance between them.
They can't bear to be apart from one another.
History of spotting the Bismarck and attacking it. He never talked about his role in the Swordfish, but after my mother died, says Heather, I found his war record and loads of photos. So let's mention here that he lives and works in Clacton, and her dad relates wonderfully to Lionel Wells, who was one of the pilots of this Fairey Swordfish as it comes directly into us.
In the Mediterranean, but it's likely she was based on the North Front in Gibraltar, carrying out patrols over the Straits. She was then returned to Fairey Stockport factory for refurbishment during the winter of 1942 to 43.
Wonderful sound of that Bristol Pegasus engine. We're getting that from our microphones on BBC Essex. Including these amazing aircraft.
It was such a privilege, Ian, wasn't it, to look at Charlotte's logbook and see the training flights and the missions that he took part in. Now, this aircraft was used for advanced flying training. She was transferred to the Royal Canadian Navy in 1944, again for more training roles until the end of the war. She was disposed of and passed through several hands of the civilian operators, one being a farmer who thought that her plans were to turn her into a crop sprayer, but she was quickly purchased by Sir William Roberts, who brought her over to Scotland. Of BAE Systems, they stepped in and constructed a brand new set of wings, which were delivered in 2012. She was then finally restored to full flying condition and thanks to the nation by a huge grant from the Peter Harrison Heritage Foundation. The aircraft rejoined the display circuit 10 years ago in 2015, and she carries a new paper scheme which depicts the Swordfish of 820 Naval Air Squadron during the attack of the Bismarck in 1941.
11th and 12th of November in 1940, there was a battle between British naval forces and Admiral Andrew Cunningham and Italian naval forces. The Royal Navy launched the first all-aircraft. The attack struck the battle fleet of the Marina and anchored in the harbour of Taranto using aerial torpedoes despite the shallowness of the water. And according to Admiral Cunningham, Taranto and the night of the 11th and 12th of November 1940 will be remembered forever as having shown once and for all that in the fleet air arm, the Navy has its most devastating weapon. The council that staged this, how are you feeling? Just over the moon to see so many people coming to Clacton, enjoying themselves, seeing some fantastic sights, and obviously seeing the Red Arrows here. It's an absolute pleasure. I don't know about you, but seeing those and seeing the Spitfire and the Hurricane, the hairs on the back of my neck. I like it. Just thinking about 2012, across the United Kingdom, there's a real feel-good factor, and I think the equivalent for us is our air show, and it's our feel-good factor for tendering. It's a lot of work though to put into this successful and actually seeing people enjoy themselves. So a happy boss at the moment, very happy, smiling, and I'm smiling because I'm seeing so many smiling faces here today. Ian Davison, Chief Executive of Tendring District Council, thank you for that. And as you have heard in the background, as we were chatting to Ian, we have our second Spitfire of the day, Mark Disco Disco, at the controls of this Mark 19 photo reconnaissance Spitfire from the Rolls-Royce Historic Air Fleet. Spitfire, that kind of beautiful RAF blue. It's just so evocative.
The first Supermarine Spitfire PR Mark 19 was completed in October 1944, powered by a Rolls-Royce Griffin 66. A direct descendant of both the buzzard engine and the R-type racing power plant, it included its design roots as a tight blower for cabin pressurization. The engine is a 2,050 horsepower liquid-cooled V12 with two-speed, two-stage supercharger. Capable of flying up to 445 miles per hour at a flight ceiling of 26,000 feet and a range of 1,800 miles.
Now this particular aircraft was used to train Lightning pilots, fight Mustangs, and spent time on the field. And it also features in the 1969 film Battle of Britain, where it was painted with the temporary markings to represent different squadrons during the filming. It's now back in that RAF blue, as I mentioned, representing its time as a photographic reconnaissance aircraft. The Rolls-Royce Heritage Flight acquired here in 1995, one of the final 3 Spitfires to be retired from the RAF. They absolutely love bringing her to displays like this around the UK during the summer season.
Dynamic and exciting ambassador not just for the company but also to inspire the younger generation and hopefully encourage them to choose science or engineering based careers.
That's better as the cloud clears slightly, a little bit of sun comes through just to warm us up. It's gone a little chilly, I'll be honest, on the seat bump, but the warmth of the sun soon breaking out and starting to glint on that blue colour scheme of the elliptical wing of the Spitfire, coming straight towards us now on the seafront before heading up into the sky, banking round to her right, our left.
Now PR Mark 19, this particular Spitfire was the final photo reconnaissance variant of the Supermarine Spitfire. And her very last operational sortie by an RAF Spitfire was on the first April 1964 when the Mark 19 did a photographic mission during the Malaya campaign over the jungles of Johor. Mark 19 was also the last RAF service. About flying vintage aircraft, and always need to remember, and he's a very well-known face around the air display circuit.
With the right wing down, a wonderful view of the underbelly of this P51 Mustang known as Jersey Jerk, manufactured in 1947.
Yes, she was manufactured in Melbourne, Australia. Now, of course, most of the Mustangs in California, but this this one was built in Australia. The reason I think she's in such good condition is she spent many years of her life, many decades actually sat in storage. Running colours of the P51 Mustang Jersey Jerk, a personal mount of Major Donald Strait of the 361st Fighter Squadron, 356th Fighter Group. On the 5th of May 2024, she took her maiden flight as a rebuilt, restored aircraft.
Including 3 in a single mission. Major Strait is best known for whiskey's Jersey Jerk. In 1944, he became the CEO of the 361st.
For leisure. It's an absolute honour and a privilege to fly such a wonderful and capable aircraft. The P51 Mustang was the most versatile aircraft, capable of attacking bombers on their long range.
Add that to not sure.
To destroy the German targets on the ground. She's an American long-range single-seat fighter and fighter bomber. She's also been used not just in World War II, but the Korean War and other conflicts. Although she's an American aircraft, she spent a lot of time flying out of Britain during World War II, supporting Britain and the Allied troops on those bomber escort missions.
During the Second World War, yes, not far from where we stand today in Clacton, on January the 13th, 1945, a Mustang known as Little Zippy ditched into the North Sea, tragically claiming the life of Flying Officer Raymond E. King. It was decades later that the aircraft was recovered and now forms a centerpiece of this impressive and there's an extract from the world which accompanied their display of Little Zippy. They say Flight Officer Raymond King, based at Wattisham in Suffolk, experienced engine failure and ditched his aircraft just 800 yards from the seafront in Clacton. Although rescued by the crew of the Clacton lifeboat, he never survived his ordeal in the bitterly cold sea and tragically died from hypothermia. His body was laid to rest at the American Military Cemetery at Madingley, and after the end of the hostilities was returned to the United States of America. The aircraft, Little Zippy, was recovered from the sea in 1987 and can now be seen in its Essex now. Well, we'll certainly see the Vampire on the road and the Strikemaster on the road.
And is actively involved in the maintenance of those aircraft. He's always had a capacity in a jet, as he did when he was on Team Raven. It's always nice to be on the ground and see the public. He said it's a great show. The sun is always shining at Clacton. And he just enjoys flying on the East Coast. She said the pilot gives him a different perspective, a view of the crowd, photos.
Sail up into the sky, turning to show us each side of the aircraft. at the moment.
Maximum speed of 481 miles per hour, up to 18,000. Takeoff of a jet aircraft performed by test pilot Eric Brown in 1945 when he landed and took off from HMS Ocean. On the 8th of June 1946, the Vampire...
Another record on July the 14th, 1948, 6 Vampire.
The Vampire variants. Used some real-life farming with the Vampire, taxiing and some flying, and they combined that with virtual production in the studio with the pilots in cockpits, using the real footage behind them on big screens. And I have to say, you felt like you were up in the clouds with the pilots, and I actually had goosebumps. It was a fantastic version of a Vampire. Vampire is an FB52. She's an export version of the Mark 6.
9.37 metres. So we've made top trumps. I think the Vampire has it in terms of legend. The wingspan, the Strikemaster, and perhaps not surprisingly, has that.
The aircraft was purchased from Sweden in May 2011, and she's now based at Vigay Air Force Air Base in Oslo in southern Norway.